Well, good afternoon. My name is, as it says, Kamau. I come from Nairobi, Kenya. And I live in a country where there is, unfortunately, a very big gap between the rich and the poor. And as fate would have it, I was born in the poor side. And that is very difficult to accept, especially when there is a lot of wealth being controlled by 10% of the people. And you find yourself having to go without food, sleep in the cold. When it rains, it's a disaster instead of a blessing. And a lot of the things people have and enjoy seem so far away from you. And it is a reality that happens to a lot of young people in Africa. And it's unfortunate, but it's happening. Well, I suppose we could categorize me as the classical slum to freedom story. But I suppose I don't want you to do that. Today, I want to present you to the Slumdog Manager. And that's me. Managers like to use a lot of graphs. And in these graphs, I don't know why they like to use them. Maybe it's because they want to seem smarter than everybody else. And who am I? Maybe I should also do the same. If you look at the slum cycle, one is born. And when you're being born, if you don't die from complications of childbirth, which happens a lot, you have malnutrition waiting for you. And if you don't die from malnutrition, you try to go to school, but then while you're in school, the few times you're there, you're wondering whether, is my brother safe? Is he dead? Is my mother working herself to death to put me here? Is it such a high cost to pay to be able to be in class? But then you console yourself because you think, hey, maybe if I go to school, I'll get good grades, and then I'll take my family out of this misery. But then that's snapped out of you because the teacher comes one day and they say, young man, you can't be in class because your parent could not pay the school fees. And the cycle continues. You go to the streets where there are gangs and people who actually perpetuate the slum mentality, as I call it, because they tell you you're condemned to die here. So they give you some drugs maybe to numb yourself because of the frustrations. And then soon enough, you're with a habit that's so profound you can't control. And then you go start stealing. And if the cops don't shoot you, one person who you go to steal from screams. And then in Kenya, we have what we call instant justice. They come out, they beat you up, they put a tie around you, some gas, and they light you up. And as the English say, your goose is cooked. But, and this is not just a story. I have 80% of my friends who I grew up with are either dead, shot, or in prison after committing crime. And 3 of them, actually, I've seen myself getting touched alive. And it's not an experience anybody should have to see. But again, I'm not a classical slum story. I'm the Slumdog Manager. So this is my graph. As you can see, I escaped quite okay with malnutrition. And I went to school and I faced all those challenges. But in the process, there was a pivotal moment. My mom used to beat me up when I made mistakes so that I shouldn't, because she loved me. But one day she sat me down and she said, young man, I think you're responsible enough to make decisions on your own. There's a lot of things out there, but you can make it. And she gave me that responsibility. And that was a turning point. And I decided to engage in sports. I actually played so hard, I actually was at some point in the national team of Kenya. And another pivotal moment, and the reason why I'm in TEDxAmsterdam, is because some ladies from this wonderful city had ideas of helping people in Africa with multimedia design skills. And they came there and not just train these young people. The butterfly works, as they are called, challenged me. And as they continued challenging me, they gave me responsibility. And I became a trainer at NairoBits, training fellow youth from the slum. And as I grew, I became the general manager of Kilimanjaro Film Institute. And this has been happening to not just me. It's not a fluke. I'm not special. It's happening to many, many young people in Africa. And in fact, the model has now been replicated in Zanzibar and in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. So why am I saying this? I'd like to draw some parallels with development aid. Well, as I illustrated, and this graph shows since 1980, because that's when I was born, it's very easy to go and die in the slum. Just like development aid, over $1 trillion has been spent over the last 50 years in development aid, and not a lot to show for it. And to bring it into the context we're in, I suppose 0.8% of the Dutch GDP is spent on development aid. And if the difference from 20 years and now is that the picture of the young child with flies on her is that then it was black and now it's colored, then I'm sure people are worried about their hard and health, as they call it here. So there has been theories proposed how to fix the problem. Some say stop with the funding to the government. Some say you probably need to spend a bit more. And when there are complex problems, as he said, you bring out Einstein. And he said, we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when creating them. And I couldn't agree with him more. And if the future of Africa belongs to Africans, maybe I am Africa. And the way that the intervention helped me is because they respected me, they challenged me, supported me, and gave me responsibility. And it's just my humble opinion that maybe if we stop dealing with development aid like we have been doing right now, giving Africa money like a child with candy, and then if they buy candy with the money, and then the problem, unfortunately, is when you leave, they are worse off because now they have bad teeth, aside from the problems they had before. So actually, I would suggest we stop dealing with development aid as we have been dealing with it. But we adjust what I would propose to call intelligent engagement. Because I believe there's a lot of resource and knowledge and intelligence in Africa and in this beautiful world. And throwing away the child with the bathwater is the simplistic solution, as some people would suggest. I think Africa still needs our help, it needs our intelligence, and as I've been helped, I think Africa can be helped, but not in the model that we've been using till now, but intelligent engagement, like these Dutch ladies who came. They could have thrown a couple of euros and say, you know, take that to Kenya. Maybe I would have eaten some candy. But they were intelligent, and they decided to engage intelligently. And I stand here because that happened. And maybe if we use the same model, Africa as well could take off. I'm proud to say I'm in control of my own destiny now. I'm empowered. Maybe Africa needs to be empowered if it is engaged in this way. And I challenge you, as you go and do your interventions, like the princess said, we can all do something. And as you go and contribute to the debate, and as you go through your daily business, I challenge you to actually engage Africa intelligently. Dank u wel.